Are you looking for more out of your life? Do you need ideas on how to start new businesses and how to move forward in your own personal life? Well, guess what? You have come to the right radio show. At You Can Overcome Anything podcast show, you will learn and hear from many people from all walks of life who are sharing their challenges, their stories, the habits, and the mind shifts they had to overcome to become who they are today. On top, you will get a chance to connect and see how you can overcome anything by networking and learning about your next move through this radio show. I present to you our great speakers at You Can Overcome Anything podcast show with your host, CesarRespino. Hello there, and welcome back to another episode of You Can Overcome Anything podcast show. It is your host, CesarRespino, and today I'm here with somebody special. She's your Swiss fun and confidence coach, Tamara. Hey, Tamara, how are you today?
Thank you so much, Cesar, for having me. I hope I said your name right. Did not
Yes, you
double
did.
check before.
You
Yeah,
did.
thank you so much. I'm really happy to be here. Thank you.
Yeah, no, definitely. So, Tamara, give us a little bit about, give me a little bit about you. Who are you? Before I dive into some of the other questions.
Yeah, that's a great question. Actually, I'm gonna start by saying just that I'm Tamara from Geneva, Switzerland. You guys probably have heard that my accent is quite French, but we do have a different French than normal French. So we are really proud of saying it's a Swiss French.
Yeah.
And yeah, just to share a random fact about me, I just don't like coriander, cilantro.
Oh,
And people
okay.
always tell me, yeah, it was just to start like this. People always tell me in a restaurant, yeah, but it's fine. You won't feel it, like the waiters. And I'm like, so if I won't feel it, why are you putting it inside? So just to
So
start.
that definitely we can't take it to Mexico to have some tacos. You're not gonna put
I
that's
know. And
part
I
of it.
spent 4 months in Mexico and I loved it, but I always had sin cilantro, por favor. So now I'm good at
Oh,
this. Don't worry. But so,
yeah,
yeah, I'm originally from Geneva, Switzerland. And I used to be a teacher, which is funny that you mentioned that it is
yeah,
true that I think all of our life, like it brings us to a certain place. So I used to be a teacher for kids. I love them. They are so authentic, simple. They don't really play games, they don't, and they are very confident, like most of them until they get bullied or anything.
yeah.
And so this is actually how I love being a teacher, but I have to say that I found a bit the system kind of a bit old. Like I find like ourselves having iPhone 14.0 and school is kind of 1.0. As much as there are
Mm,
some changes, I find it a bit like from the past. I don't know, like we really need to help like kids make decision, like be more confident, like have better relationship, not take things so personally, not take things so seriously. So I started learning a bit about personal development. I learned life coaching and I started coaching people on many topics such as time management, like weight loss, dating was a high topic
yeah,
like 2 years ago. And I saw that it comes down to confidence, like giving ourselves permission to believe something about ourselves that we're worthy and everything. So I've decided to focus on coaching people on confidence. And I added the fun tagline because I do believe that we can take ourselves and our life way less seriously than we are actually doing it. And can have
yeah,
much more fun and things don't need to be hard and complicated to work out. So this is what
yeah.
brought me to here today to talk to you.
Okay. Yeah, no, definitely. No, I love that. So that's good. That gives a little bit of a foundation of who you are and what you do now. So
Thank you.
let me take you back. And I know you mentioned you were born in Switzerland. Tell
Yeah.
me about your upbringing, right? Because obviously you seem like very joyful. Like you said, you don't take,
Thank you.
you obviously uh things is that life is serious, yet you don't take those things too serious so that they start kind of building or creating stress in you or things like that. So let's talk about your
Mm.
upbringing. How was that for you growing up as a kid and things like that?
Yes, and it's interesting you mentioned this because I see, I know you wrote like you can overcome anything, and I remember I
Yeah.
read it in your emails and everything, and it is true that I think what brought me, it's a great question, and I thought about it recently. I grew up really being the clown, in my family, in the classroom, and then like I think it was fun and nice to be like this. And at the same time, in the past few years, between being a teacher and becoming a life coach, I kind of found myself having the thought that people don't take me seriously, because this is
Mm,
how I grew up, that it was something negative. And actually, I kind of overcame, if I have to
mhm,
say, like to
mhm,
everybody that overcame really worse stuff for sure. But I mean, kind of overcame the fact that I thought it was a bit black and white, like all or nothing. Like if you are fun and you don't take things seriously, people won't take it seriously. And I completely turned it upside down and decided that actually I can coach people on having exactly this, like much more
mhm.
fun and joy while still achieving anything they want in their life, that it's not black and white. And so I don't know if it's answering your question, but I think this is what brought me today, that I feel really living in integrity, because I grew up thinking that first it was very fun. And then in the middle, I thought that maybe it should be differently because like we need to be serious, as adults. I've decided, no, as much as you see, I look serious. I mean, I look
Yeah.
normal. So
Yeah,
yeah.
no, yeah, and you know that actually going back to that, like even for you, like saying, okay, I overcame that, whether it's small, and yes, you're right, many people have overcome something bigger. I think one of the biggest things that we have to take away from that, or one of the lessons, is that regardless of what you're going through, is true for you. It's something that's happening to you,
Yeah.
and you have to be able, as a person, like something that might seem very simple to us, or seems like, oh, that's nothing. I've been through worse. Probably, yeah. Except for you as a person, deep down in you, you have your own challenges that you have to overcome. And then when you do that, you definitely step into a different place in your life, right? It's like
Yeah.
that saying, I definitely want to be able to help as many people and change the world, right? Except the biggest thing that I can do though is help myself first and change my world before I change the rest of the world, right? And
Yeah,
so
that's
I think
true.
that's something that people need to really also, in that sense, I think is very valid when it comes down to that. Yeah. So
Yeah, it's so true. I like it.
yeah, good. So in terms of one of the things that I have here, which I like, is one of the things that, again, you have to overcome, is to stop comparing yourself and your life to other people, to finally live the life you truly wanted to live, right? I think that's huge right now, and let's dive into that, because I think that's huge when you think about it right now with social media. A lot of people, the younger generation, probably more so than anything, they tend to gravitate in, or they tend to compare themselves to people on social media, people they probably don't even know, right? And that's the first one. The second thing too is that there's a little bit of lack of self-love or self-care,
Mm.
just because, again, they feel like they're being judged by other people on social media. Maybe they posted something and then somebody put a nasty comment, and then because of that, they feel like, oh, now I'm being judged, right? So talk about that, because I think that there's a lot of stuff happening there now that I think is huge for people to realize and recognize that you have to be able to do that for yourself more than anything.
Yeah, for sure. And I think no, what you said is really like really makes sense. I think that the first thing to really pay attention is the way we look also at, it's all around the words we're using, like comparing ourselves. Like it sounds like very right away negative kind of, because it
Hmm.
is true that when we compare ourselves, the first thing that comes to our mind is, yeah, the fact that we are not as good as other people, or that we are not like well, I'm going to touch about this because I have two things to say about this
Yeah,
that will make
yeah,
sense.
of course.
I think the first one is, each time like we will compare ourselves like forever, I do believe that it's our survival brain, the part of the brain that
Mhm.
is very primitive, that just want to make sure we are part of the tribe. I think that things moved so fast in the past, I was going to say few years, but I mean like so many 100 years, that the brain is still kind of primitive for some stuff. This is where also we get so stressed, so worried suddenly, or like our nervous system gets so easily like stressed, but most of the time it's not that serious. It's not a life threat,
Mhm.
what's happening. So I think the very first step is just to know that it's your brain that is just wants to make sure that we are part of the tribe. Because back then, if we were in the cave and like basically you're alone and you're not like other people, which I think this is the back end,
Mhm.
of like comparing ourselves. If we're not like other people, we're gonna die. This is what our brains think. And I like to always remind myself that my brain's job isn't to make me happy, but it's to keep me alive. When I
Mhm.
think about this, I'm like, okay, this is normal. Nothing's wrong with me for comparing myself. Then the second stuff is the second thing I think to really consider is, as I mentioned before, I think comparing yourself sounds kind of bad, like, yeah, she's really comparing herself. And actually, I thought about this when I wrote it to you, in the email. Like, I wrote it like, yeah, it's a problem to solve. Actually, I like to turn it around, which I'm not sure if that's easy to do. I did not grow up, for young people, I did not grow up like having all of these social media. So I'm not sure if that's
Mhm.
easy, but again, it's the kind of stuff we should learn at school, to completely turn upside down the fact that we compare ourselves to other by looking at it more in a place, like to a place more of what is this person modeling for me? Like basically we are all the same. Of course, we are all different and all very unique, but we're all the same. If they do this, what does it say? What can I do? Do I want to do it? Like when it comes to haircut, to makeup, wow, they look so beautiful, but do I want it? Like, I don't know, to bring it back to us, but from a place of like abundance and possibilities, more look at it and making us stuck, more opening. Yeah, there are, and we all know some people who are like, why they're so successful? They're not that
Yeah.
smarter than me. You know what I mean? So I think it's just another upside down. I told you I'm all about breaking the rules and looking at things from a different perspective. So tell me what you think.
No, yeah, no, and you're right, and I even myself, I mean, I've learned where I've started, maybe doing something together. Like I know people. I'm in a real estate business, right? I do real estate investing in
Mhm.
the U.S. too, and so I was starting with studying with certain people. We started around the same time, and we've probably been in the business at the same time, and yet some of those people are way ahead of me, and I start thinking to myself, why is that, right? And so I think more so than I've asked myself that question. I realized too that instead of just uh, comparing yourself, ask that question: is why? What is it that they're doing different that I may not be doing, so that we can learn from that. I think is rather than comparing yourself, you got to be able to look at, okay, what is it that they might be doing differently? It could be multiple different things, right? Except when you start asking that question, you're gonna start finding some of the answers where
Mhm.
now you can get ahead. Again, it's not a comparison, it's a baseline. It's something that's probably helping you more than anything. And so I do believe that we go through a lot of that, a lot of comparison, and that tends to deteriorate our place in that run, whatever that might be, in that thing that we're trying to accomplish, right? Again, why? Because we're comparing ourselves, and then we start having this negative self-talk, right? We start
Yeah.
talking to ourselves negatively, and without realizing, we're actually programming our unconscious mind to believe that we are whatever we're saying, right? And so we got
Yeah.
to be very careful with that, which is another big thing for me. Is like, I believe that the mind is so powerful that it can create or something great for you. In other words, it can make it for you or it can break it for you. So we got to be careful with that. Um,
Yeah.
with,
And be
with
much
the,
more intentional. Yeah, I guess. Yeah.
Right, exactly. Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. I kind of also like your messages that says you are the best thing that ever happened to you. And so again, when you start realizing that, also I think that's huge because
Yeah.
uh, again, we're looking for validation, and you're right. We're back in the day, we're standing alone in this man cave. You want to be part of a community, which is what we want to do right now. We want to be part of a community. We want to feel like
Yes,
part of
it's
this
true.
tribe, and because of that, sometimes we forget that we are the best thing that happened to us, right?
Yeah. Just imagine if you walk down the street really believing it to be true. You imagine it's like just, yeah, I'm the best thing that ever happened to you. It's what you said about validation and approval, as much as it's the
Yep.
first needs, for us to survive. And, the brain is not here for us to thrive, but at least to survive, it's the first one. But just like imagining after not needing the approval and validation from other people because you give it to yourself in the first place, other people are just a bonus. And Cesar, I just wanted to say something because before it made me
Yeah.
think of when you said, people are really modeling, like, I mean, like other people got there, so you can get there too. There is a thought, somebody shared that with me. I don't remember where I read this, that said something. It can be in your professional or in your personal life. Somebody stood exactly where you stood and they found a way out or like a solution or like, and it depends how you feel, of course, when you think about it. But when I'm thinking about this, I'm like, okay, I'm not the only one. Often, we think something's wrong with us or we are stuck because of us, something's wrong. But actually, when I think that somebody was standing exactly where I'm standing and they found a solution, I find it very empowering. It means that we are, again, all the same. If they got there, I believe exactly what you said. The mind can uh, help us like build something or can destroy. But I believe if we're intentional, we can create the sky is the limit.
Yeah, no, definitely. So let's talk a little bit about the mind. Let's talk about some of the things that you've done yourself to kind of help you really stay in a positive state of mind. And like you said, don't take it so seriously. Yet you know where you're heading, because I know that those are some of the things that probably you've worked on yourself. Are the things that you're doing with your coaching clients, right? So talk about
Yeah.
the mind, because I think that's huge in many aspects, especially with
Yeah,
what's
for
going on right
sure.
now around the world.
Yeah, 100%. And I think, so to answer your question, I think what would be the hardest for me, two things I can think of, and I can, of course, it's what
Mhm.
I try to be, not try, I'm doing every day to be like I want to be a billboard for coaching. Like I want to be a product of my product. I don't want to. I want to sell in integrity and knowing that my stuff works.
Right.
So I think really, yeah, the really first thing that I'm thinking about is, as we said before, like the brain will offer you thoughts. It's like 85% of what we. No, I think 95% of what we think yesterday, like of what we think today, it's the thoughts that we have yesterday. And we have 60,000 thoughts per day. The brain just wants to be efficient, so it's not like offering you the best, as you said. We act from our mind for our thoughts.
Yeah.
In the world, and it doesn't offer you the best, most useful thought. It just offers you the thought that kept you alive until today. So the thing that I found myself, was the hardest for me, was to redirect my brain and not believing what it was telling me, because again, the brain just wants to keep you alive. So if you do a presentation, if you want to show up, if you want to invest or anything, your brain will try to stop you because it thinks that it's risky, thinks that you're going to die. So to completely stop believing it, I think there is a difference between thinking and believing something. We have so many thoughts, again, during the day. So to redirect my mind, okay, just my brain. So I give a name to my brain. My brain is Sunny. So I'm like, yes, Sunny is saying that, which is making me think also, realizing, and I love coaching on this, telling people that we are not our thoughts. We have thoughts. Again, for emotions, the same people say, I'm an angry person. I wonder how they show up in the world thinking that they're an angry person. Like I feel the emotion of anger. Like then it completely separates you. And the same for the brain or the mind, like I am not my mind. Of course, it depends. If it's a very successful mind that is creating amazing results, do it, but it depends how you feel. So I think to redirect my brain and my mind each time, like, I'm posting on social media as fun and like confidence. So I'm making videos that are really like out of the beat, what you can see, I think, usually.
Yeah.
But I'm saying to myself, my brain's telling me, yeah, it's going to be, people are not going to like it, people will judge. But I know it's just a sentence in my head, and then to redirect, no, this is fun and I love what I'm doing. I'm here to serve people and to help them. So redirecting the brain really on something. I think this is how you can have control of your mind and not the opposite. And I think the second one that I could think of, no, I forgot. So probably you would have something better to say.
No, that's good. And you know what I want to add to that, and you're right. I mean, with the amount of thoughts that 60,000 plus thoughts that are going through our heads, and as you mentioned, 90% of them are like from yesterday. About 80 to 85% of them are negative too, right? So
Yes,
that's the other thing that we gotta, right. And so not only that, they're also negative. And so like even with that, the examples you were just saying is like the brain is going to tell you certain things like, oh no, you cannot do it, or I'll tell you, like when I did my very first book, like I literally talked myself out of it because my brain was telling me like, dude, you're not a writer. Who's going to listen to you? Who's going to pick up your book? Who's going to read it, buy it? All those different things. And so it talked me out of it. And because it did, I didn't write it for a couple of months until I changed. So here's another thing to like kind of like what you're saying is like you have to change the lens that you have, your glasses. You have to change the vision. You have to change the way you see things. And so for me, when even though my brain was telling me, no, you're not a writer, no one's gonna buy it, why even bother, I changed the framing of that and say, okay, so what if nobody buys it? So what if nobody reads it? What about if I do it for me? What about if I do it for a self-accomplishment? What about if I do it so I can leave a legacy or a book for my daughter, right? Now I changed the reason behind why I wanted to write the book, and my brain kind of accepted that more. It was like, okay, that's cool. Then let's go out and publish that book. And so I did that. So kind of going back to your point is that, uh, uh, our emotions, we can create our emotions, right? And obviously there's more to it. You have to do a lot of work. If you're in a depressed stage in your life, obviously that might be a little bit challenging. Except again, you cannot be happy and mad at the same time. You can choose your thoughts, and you can fight those thoughts by saying, you know what? No, I choose to be confident today. Even if you haven't done it, like I choose to be confident, and I'm gonna be confident on doing whatever it is that I'm trying to do. Or if you're probably getting on the phone and cold calling people, you might be scared. As if you can say, you know what, I'm the best cold caller there is, and I'm gonna make this call the best call. And you pick up the phone and you do it as if you act as if that's who you are. That confidence, right? Kind of go back to the point. So
this is true what you said about acting as the person. Very often, people focus a lot on what they're doing, like the action. But I do believe that when you actually focus on the person who you're being, which when it comes to
Mhm.
goals, for example, I always tell people the best is to behave like you already achieved the goal. Like, for example, just the example of diets and weight loss, it's just so easy. They know that when they're going to reach this weight, they're not going to eat as much as they eat today. Just very random cliche example. But it is true that when you behave already, and I believe also that then you give also sign to the universe that this is who
Mhm.
you are, So I agree with you. And I just wanted to add just one thing that I think is also important for,
Mhm.
even if you focus, and the book is such a good example, and congrats, honestly, on
Thank you.
overcoming your brain, overcoming
Yeah.
anything in your brain. I
Yeah.
also believe that sometimes the brain will still, as you said, 85% the thoughts will be negative. It's like driving a car. I think it's okay to put the negative emotion, negative thoughts, in the backseat of the car, because
Right.
not to make it wrong, that they are there and they're not supposed to. I think very successful people still have negative emotion, negative thoughts, but you're driving with exactly what you said, thinking of your daughter, thinking about all of this, like the tank is full, you're just driving, but in the backseat, you still have, your brain like chit chatting. I think
Yeah.
it's just important. Sometimes I remind myself, okay, nothing's gone wrong. If you feel like one day not too motivated, I don't know, it's fine. I just put it in the backseat, but I'm driving with my main reason,
Yeah.
like what you said.
Right.
Yeah, your daughter is.
I like that. That's huge. It comes in, I acknowledge it, or I go back,
Mm,
sit in the back now. Right. I've
yeah.
already acknowledged you. Sit in the back. It's that I'm not gonna stay hung up on that idea or that thought
Yeah,
that's
that
coming
it's
in.
not a
Right.
problem, because I
Right.
think most of the time it's not even the emotion or like what we're thinking, it's what we make it mean, like I'm not supposed to think this, because
Right.
yeah, actually having one thought like you should not write, nobody will read your book. Who cares? It's like 10 words next to each other, but it's what we make it mean. Yeah, maybe it's true, and it's
Yeah.
interesting.
Exactly. Right.
But congrats on
100%.
really overcoming. And what do you think was the changing point? Like, what made you like you think like in that moment? Like, I don't think it's one moment. Maybe it was many decisions to sit and write. But what do you think clicked like for you at this moment?
Yeah. So again, when I first started, I had an idea. I said, "Hey, what if I write this book?" Right. And then again, I talked myself out of it. And then after again, it was really that for me was the fact that I changed the framing. I changed on how I saw things,
Mm,
and and I think it's kind of like that one thing, right? You go to your 9 to 5 job, and you're going to your 9 to 5 job because you need the money, except you don't enjoy it. So because you don't really enjoy it, you're not putting 100% to that job, right? Well, if we
mm.
were to change that around and you're going to a job that you really love, that you get so excited to wake up to go to it, the way you're going to be performing, your performance is going to be way higher, right? Because you're joyful, you enjoy, you want to do it. It was the same thing for me when I changed the dynamics of, well, here's the different reason why I want to write this book. And I think for me, at that point, it was something huge. It was a huge accomplishment for me to say, "Hey, I have a book. Like, dude, I did this, right?"
Yeah,
Like that
it's
self
true.
accomplishment and being able to leave that behind. That I think created the different dynamics in my mind to say, you know what, let's get it out as soon as possible, not for anybody else, but for me and my daughter. And then from there, things just changed. I was getting messages from people that I've never met and saying, "Hey, I'm very successful, yet your book changed my life. It made me see things from a
Oh,
different
it's
perspective."
nice.
And so that
Mm.
becomes even more um, self gratifying when you can hear that from somebody or somebody that you don't know that says, "Hey," or when you know that you writing your book have inspired other people to start writing their books because they wanted to do it but they didn't have the courage. I inspire somebody to start writing now. He has like three or four books. He's doing a lot of poetry and things like that. I mean, he's like, he sent me a testimony. He was like, because of you, I decided to now write my own book, right?
And that's
So
great. Yeah,
that
such
that
a
that
good inspiration. Yeah,
yeah,
I agree.
exactly. So those are some of the things that you have to do. Except this is kind of like what you have right there in your other side. It says trust your intuition, right? I knew I wanted to write a book. It was deep down, except there was a couple of challenges. I don't call them problems, I call them challenges.
Hmm.
And I had to be able to figure out, okay, how can I switch this around, right? And so what I have here, which I love, this is to listen to your intuition, to trust that they have all the answers inside of you or inside of them, no matter the question. So tell me more about that. Tell me more about what that means to you.
Yeah, I believe that actually I love, GPT. I love
Yep.
all the Google that you can find all the answers you want to any question you have, and I'm using them a lot, I have to say for sure. Multiple times per day, I have to be honest. Transparency, integrity, reminding everybody. But I
Yep.
do believe that actually there's so much info outside of us, and I don't think enough, like, and I don't blame any teachers. Even myself, when I used to be a teacher, I do believe that we don't ask enough. We don't build this self-trust in thinking, no matter if it's professional or personal life. I do believe that we all have the answers, like 99% of the answers like will come from like within for sure. And I build my business and now as a a confidence coach with the idea that to every question I have, my first guess is my best answer. Like I always go with this
Mm.
first because I also believe this is how everything was built, everything was imagined. I don't think we are exception, the unicorn, as much as we are all amazing. I believe that we all have a brain that we can use like better than we're actually using. So I think for every question, again, if it's professional or personal life, we can check on GPT and everything. I just think that first check in with ourselves. And really, I think it's kind of to cultivate is listening to our intuition. What do I feel? What do I think? Do I want to say no? Yeah, what do I think? But to value it as much, not to listen to it too much, because it's the brain still, to see how we feel when we're thinking and believing things. But yeah, to just know that we have the answers inside of us, no matter what area of our life it is, and just to trust it. And I think it's a muscle that you can build. And I almost don't ask people's opinion. I'm going to change my hair a bit to pink gray just because I always wanted, and I'm going to do this next year. But I remember sending pictures to people and saying, yeah, this is the haircut I'm going to make just for fun, like the color. And I remember I did not ask people what they think because people love giving their advice, but I just said, this is what I'm doing. And actually people can tell me whatever they want. But it's just an example to show that when you really start trusting it, there's no worst case scenario, because worst case, you make a different choice. So.
Yeah, talk about that because I think that's part of the fear, though. I think that's fear. That's the fear, right? The fear of making that choice, and it could be as simple as changing the color of your hair,
Yeah.
or it could be as complicated as I want to dive into my own, become an entrepreneur, live my 9 to 5 job, and that's scary, and do this, right? Regardless of how simple or how difficult that decision might be or that choice, I believe that that's part of what is holding people from making that, or oftentimes you hear this too, like in relationships, right? It could be like, you're in a toxic relationship, or in a relationship that you shouldn't be in, except because you're afraid of being alone, or you don't want to, you want to get a second chance, or you have kids involved, or whatever the case may be. You don't leave that, yet you should, because again, that decision is scary. And so it could be
Yeah.
in multiple different areas. So what would you tell somebody that maybe the procrastination is making a decision, making that choice?
Yeah, it's a good question. I think, wow, it's a great question. I'm a bit on the grill, like suddenly. What would you answer to this question?
Yeah, for me, here's what I think, right? And I've been in that place before where making decisions were very scary, and I didn't make them, and because of that, I felt like it ended up costing me more. Did I learn
Mm.
from it? Yes, of course I did. Could I have taken a different uh, route in my life? For sure. You never know, right? You just never know. Except now, what I recognize now is that you're better off making a decision now, because the decisions and choices that we make today will impact the quality of life that we have tomorrow. And so for me, it's like, let me make that decision today. And if I feel like tomorrow I find out that that was not the best decision, then I have the opportunity to pivot immediately and make any decision. I think that's the missing component. People are fearful that I'm going to make these decisions, it's going to bring really negative consequences, and then they freeze and they don't know what to do. What they forget is that you have the opportunity to pivot and make a new decision. The real thing here is don't stop, keep making decisions, because that decision that you're making right now is preparing you for tomorrow. Except if you don't make the decision, it might take a month or 2 or 3 or 4, and you just lost all that time because you were hanging up on the fear of that decision.
Yeah, it's true. And most of the people say it takes me so much time to make a decision, but I think a decision is made in an instant. So, I mean, when you don't make a decision, you're kind of making the decision not to make the decision. So,
Right.
I agree with you. I think there is one thing that I always love to do for decision making,
Yeah.
that I'm less on the grill. I think it's to imagine that both scenarios, any, scenarios that you have, turns out like amazing. If everything is possible, this is working out perfectly, like all of them. And here is the intuition part. Which one do you really feel like you want to follow? Like which one, if
Mm,
everything was possible and all will like be they will be successful. I think to kind of follow our heart. And I agree with you. And it goes back also with confidence that you can always make another decision after a worst case, like another one. And also decide, it's like people when they come for coaching, since it's not something you buy on the shelf, at the store, and you know what you're going to get when you buy like nuggets, in a
yeah.
freezer. I always like to say, like, decide also that you came for that you you got what you came for, like to have your own back with this decision. Like you make this decision in this moment, it was like you loved your reasons for making this decision. You can always make another one. Most of the time, the worst case scenario is where we are, because people, when they don't want to leave their 9 to 5, the worst case scenario is going back to getting a 9 to 5. But the worst always is not getting after what you really want, to try things, to live
Right.
a life. And I think what you said also for everything that is being entrepreneur, living your 9 to 5, is everybody had to, to leave their job at some point, or like it doesn't have to look like anyone else's journey. But what I'm trying to say by this is that, yeah, it just takes like a little risk, which again, it's what you said, a challenge more.
Yep.
And you can always go back. Most of the time, we are the worst case scenario. I think the worst case scenario is staying where we are, really, I think.
Yeah. Yeah.
When you want something else. Yeah.
Yeah. It was interesting. I just did a very small short video on I think on TikTok or Instagram, and I was talking about, we can have more relationships, we can have another job, we can have other friends or more friends, we can have more money, we can have just about anything more, right? The only thing that we can have more of is another life, right? We only have one life.
Mm.
And so again, sometimes when we start thinking about that and we start, as you said, there's so many different things that can be taking place, right? And life is about making decisions. And so the minute that you stop making decisions, or the minute that you may lose everything today, you might have no money, you might lose your house, you might be homeless for all you care, except if you have the decision of continuing to live, if you have the decision of saying, you know what, I'm going to figure out a way to get everything that I want back again, you're gonna get it, because you have that one life that is so powerful. Except again, I believe sometimes we forget about that, right? We forget about
Yeah, it's
part of that.
true. No, and it makes so much sense. It's going back to what you said about the mind. I think then even if you're like, of course, it's not nice, I guess, to be homeless, but I'm saying even there you have your mind, nobody can steal this from you. Like, I like this. Somebody said something crazy, but I think it's just interesting. And I think about it sometimes also that if even she was murdered or something because she was living in a dangerous place, she said nobody can even steal my experience of death. Like, of course, it's very extreme, but what I want to say by
Right.
this is, like, there are so many things. And again, when it comes to decision making, for what you said, it's we blame the world, other people, because they made this choice and everything. But when you decide, you have your own back, and you are like, you decide that this is the decision you wanted to make. I don't know. It's like you are much more in control than we think we are, like than you think you are, and you stop blaming the world and people. I think it's so much. It's very empowering, and then you can also be so proud of yourself when you write a book and you
Yeah.
stand like this in front of a jet and things like this.
Yeah. No. Exactly. No. That definitely, definitely. So tell me, what kind of clients come to you? What are they looking
So
for? Yeah.
great question. So people that are amazing because they've tried everything. They read all the self-help books, and I wonder what you think of them. And I love like 7% of them. And they tried everything. They listen to podcasts and Yours Mine, all of them. And yeah, they still feel stuck. Like they don't know how to get out. They want to shift, but they don't really know. And they're not sure coaching will work because, as I said, they tried everything.
Mhm.
So they come to me, and first we talk a lot of the impact of coaching. Nobody wants coaching. I'm not saying nobody wants a book, but we want, the result, the impact
Right.
that
Right.
reading this book will bring us. But also, I believe that I make the coaching experience very fun. I coach for 4 months, and I teach all the foundation for someone to have a fun and uncomplicated life,
Nice.
in a
So
nutshell.
your program is normally about 4 months. That's like
Yes.
the basics, and then if people need more, then you obviously work with them more than the 4 months.
Exactly, if they want to, but I saw that 4 months is already like amazing to build that trust in yourself that you
Yeah.
can do anything that you want. And yeah, and I'm learning American Sign Language, because I want to be
Yeah.
able to coach everybody that is on this planet.
Yeah.
And so yeah, just to say for this that it's 4 months, but maybe I will change, which has absolutely nothing to do with me learning this, but because in the future it will be group coaching. But I decided now to keep on doing one-on-one. It's very
Yeah,
fun. So
no,
it's
that's awesome.
thank you.
Where can people find you if they want to learn more about your coaching business? Maybe figure out how they can start working with you. How can they connect with
Yeah.
you?
Thank you so much. So I'm on Instagram on Tamara Fun and Confidence Coach, and I actually have a website called personaldevelopmentzone.com. But I think on Google, if you just tap Tamara Pflug, which is unpronounceable, my last name, it's like you sneeze. I cannot even pronounce it. It's German. Pflug, but you can find me online everywhere. Also on Google Maps. It's a thing. I don't know if you're on Google Maps,
No,
but you have to be on Google Maps.
I have to check that. Huh, interesting. I didn't know that. Okay. I'm definitely in Google, but I didn't know I was Google Maps. Okay. Interesting.
So yeah,
Okay.
thank you so much for asking. This is the main
Yeah.
ones.
Okay, sounds good. And then you obviously done a lot for you. I want to know, do you have any habits? Like, do you do anything on a day-to-day basis to kind of get your day going?
Yes. Good question. I did not expect this one. I think the one thing that I'm doing every day is doing visualization. I'm a fan of Mike Dooley. I don't know. He wrote Infinite Possibilities, and he said exactly what you said. Thoughts create things. I love everything. He looks like the universe actually himself. And so 5 minutes, not more. I'm doing visualization. It's more like you have to be in the emotions of what you think
Hmm.
you're gonna feel when you reach your life. In like 5, 10 years. It's just super fun. You put a bit of music, and it doesn't have to be too spiritual. You just imagine yourself. So I'm like opening my computer, coaching people in sign language, and just going out eating because I love eating, but I don't like to cook. So things
Yeah.
like easy stuff, and you feel really, I want to feel proud, I want to feel inspired, and all of the emotions. And just you start your day like this, and you redirect your brain. Now you behave and you act like you're your future self. It makes decision easy, very easy, like decision making very easily. Like I don't have time for this stuff. And then I start working as I have so many clients and group coaching.
Yeah, no, I love that. So let me ask you this: I know some people might have a difficulty visualizing. Like, what are your tips? Like, how do you have to just see it? Do you have to like try to be in the moment, like, or like see yourself in that moment, or just see it in your mind? Like, do you want to feel the emotions? Like, tell me a little bit about maybe your technique, in terms of visualizing, right? How do you go about feeling that moment, right? Because I think that's where it becomes powerful, right? It's like
Yeah.
affirmations. It's not good enough to say, you know, I am healthy, and you're just saying like words. You want to be able to feel that, right? Is you got to be able
Yeah,
to
it's
create that
true.
emotion, right? I believe that's the same with visualizations. Or give me your thoughts.
Yeah, it's amazing you said that because I think, affirmations are amazing. But it's like trying on a sweater, if you try a sweater and it doesn't feel good, it's not going to work. So, and it's funny you said this because I see here, I have next to me, it's written, everything I touch turns to gold because I've decided to imagine
Nice.
if you
Yeah.
walk down the street thinking this thought,
Yeah.
honestly.
Yeah.
So I'm not saying that it does become gold, but yeah, anyway. So, but to say, I think again, and it goes back to the intuition. What if there was no rules, no way, to visualize like perfectly or like efficiently? I think people are afraid they're doing it wrong, so it won't come true. I think that we create our life no matter if we visualize our life or not. So at least let's be intentional. Our life is passing, as you said. So I think again, it's going back to the intuition. Okay, what does it mean for me to visualize? I'm struggling with this word today, and just by it can look like anything. Usually, I'm standing up because I like how Mike Dooley, I told you, is my hero about this, but he's really saying, close your eyes and imagine that there is gold around your dream, and you just live the life that you want to live, and slowly, slowly, you will get there. So it looks very simple for me. People say you do it 10 minutes. Some people, I think for this, just listen to your intuition. What does that look like? You don't even need to read a book about it. Just do it what you think. And I'm curious to know what you think.
No, I 100% with what you're saying. I think, when you create the vision, and we're talking about visualizing, when you create the
Yeah,
vision with the emotion, right? Then it tends to become more real. And the more real you can see it in your mind's eye, the more real it'll become on the outside of world, right? Same thing with
yeah,
affirmations. Is you have to have. I believe it's not just. I think for affirmations, three different things. Number one is you want to say whatever it is that you want to say. um Number two, you want to say it with conviction. You want to feel that
mm,
emotion, whatever that might
okay,
be. And number three, you have to create an action, something that's going to be able to support that. And it's the same thing like what you have there is like everything I touch turns to gold. I think that's actually a really good one because how does that mean? If you're I'll give you an example. You might be talking to a person, right? And you're talking to this person, and you're touching or that person through your words. Well, what about that person that becomes a client of yours? Guess what? That just became gold, right? Because it
yeah,
became
it's true.
a client of yours, right? So I believe that we have to be able to see, in that sense, in that example, wherever it is that you're thinking, it is becoming that, right? So yeah, so like
Mm.
even with visualization too, like vision boards and things like that. Again, you have to have a board. You're thinking about it, the emotion, and then okay, what actions am I taking today to be able to support that? right? And I
Yeah,
remember
it's true.
many years ago, I was doing kind of like a vision board, and I'm like, I want to be an author. I want to be a bestseller author, right? And make that become a reality. And I believe that is because I put it down on a piece of paper and I started visualizing
For
that.
sure.
Except I started taking actions to make that happen. Yeah.
Yeah, it's so smart you're saying this. I think the emotion part, and I don't know how I skipped it because I really have it written like I think 10, 15 emotion. One of them is really pride, but not pride again, like oh, I'm not arrogance, it's never coming like never. It's not coming from this place, but it's really from from the place of like I believed it without having physical proof, that I can help people and everything. And I came to this day being on this podcast, I agree. It's like the emotion part is so important. So, and would you share with us like two emotions that you would think of when you visualize, like something that you try to put yourself just to get
Yeah.
inspired a bit more?
So one of the things that I think we kind of talk about, right, is I believe that, and I got this from one of my mentors, and he said, "Funny means money," right? And so it's like when you laugh, when you make people laugh, right, in anything, like okay, what's happening is you're creating this emotion. So the emotion of being happy, right, or laughing, that I think is a good emotion because again is bringing this all of this positive thoughts into your mind. So that'll be one. Um, the second one, the second emotion that I would probably really focus on when I'm visualizing is really again act as if you already are whatever that might be. So it comes down to confidence, right? So I
Mm,
think laughter an emotion of love or that emotion of positivity with the emotion of confidence are two ways that can help you really visualize. It doesn't matter. You can be the shyest person right now. It's that when you start believing that you're confident, guess what? And when you start seeing joy or laughter in that vision, that becomes more and more real. That's what I
yeah,
think.
wow.
Yeah,
Great answer, really. And I wrote it down because, as a fun coach, I had to notice one. I think I'm gonna use it a lot.
yeah,
Funny makes money. Just very, very, it's a good
yeah,
one. Thank you so much for sharing.
yeah, yeah. No, definitely.
Amazing.
So my last question for you, Tamara, is you've given us a lot of great tips here.
Thank you.
For the people that might be watching this or listening to this program, if they're going through any challenge, whatever challenge that might be, what is one thing you can say to them so they can start overcoming that challenge?
I think just to pay attention that the thing is a challenge is actually a thought error. Like they just believe something to be true. And what if it's not? And I'm gonna, no matter what people will bring me, but there is this, but there is that, I will, as of course, from a place of love and but still hard coaching, say it's not true. Like, what if something else is true? And I would coach. So I would, you can coach yourself just at home, just for fun, and ask yourself, like, okay, okay, maybe these are just words, maybe it's not true. Just to question, to play a bit around. I'm also, but like making it playful, not too serious. I think personal development, we use it against ourselves. So don't just, you're listening to this, you're really already amazing on your way. And just
Yeah,
like question it. The only thing that is stopping you from any, like the challenge from solving or taking on that challenge is a thought error. It's something you're thinking that actually is not as true as you believe it is.
I love that. I love that.
Yeah.
No, that's huge. Well, Tamara, thank you again for being here again. Tamara,
So
the
much.
fun and confidence coach here with you guys. Thank you for being here. Anything else you want to say before I let you go?
Yes, I wanted to thank you so much for having me. And it was really also, you added so many things that I took, like wrote down, and it was
Nice.
really, really interesting for me. Like I'm really grateful. Thank you so much for having me, really, Cesar.
Sounds good. Thank you so much for being here. And for there, so you guys do me a favor, please make sure that you share this message because definitely somebody needs to hear it. And I'll see you guys at the next episode of You Can Overcome Anything podcast show. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hi, I'm CesarRespino, real estate investor, business coach, and consultant, and author of the book, You Can Overcome Anything, Even When the World Says No. My number is 424-501-6046. In my book, I talk about making the necessary changes to shift your mind for prosperity and certainty. Pick up your copy at Amazon. I also love helping families with their real estate and can purchase your house fast and all cash. Follow me on Instagram, Facebook, and LinkedIn. My number is 424-501-6046.
Thank you for having me today. I am so glad you've tuned into this podcast. You can find me at your favorite podcast platform where you can like, subscribe, comment, and share. And to learn more about myself, my services, you can find me at www.CesarRespino.com, or you can also find me at your social media. Thanks for joining me, and I am looking forward to having you at the next episode. And know you truly can overcome anything.